Hi, my name is Lindsay Elston. Today we're going to be talking about Plotly, which is an open source graphic library that can be used in Python, Plotly, and various other languages. We're going to, however, focus on R because that's my passion. That's the language I like dealing with and working with when dealing with data science. You can see here the various different types of graphs and charts that can be created with Plotly. Let's jump into it and see what it actually looked like. We're going to open R, right? And you can see that in R, we now have the language, our language IDE opened. In this particular area, we have the various packages that we're working with, the tidyverse for wrangling the data, working with the data, and various other packages within tidyverse. I can't name them all the functionality, but that's one of the ones that come to mind. I believe dplyr is part of the tidyverse suite, which allows data wrangling. We also have lubridate, which you can work with dates. Dates come in different formats and it allows you to manipulate that information so that you can get into a format that works for your data, as well as scales such as dollar amounts or percentages. I've already installed these packages, so I'm not going to run this section here. This is the data that we'll be working with, which is the Superstore data. And what this is just an Excel spreadsheet that contains the data we have. And you can see here it contains the attributes along the top. We've already taken the liberty of focusing on California, but you can see here, if I scroll through all of this, it has US, California. So you can see there's very other states, Nebraska, Utah, California, Pennsylvania, all within this data. But we're only going to be focusing on California. So let's get back over to it. And as you can see here, we have the California sales. So I've already scaled that data down, focusing in on California. And you can see here we're using the ggplot package to visualize this particular section, which is sales and segments. You can see we have consumer, corporate, and home office, and the sales for each of these segments. Let's go ahead and run this section here so you can see how this works. So when we run the Plotly package, it installs the package. And then we're going to run this section here. This is sales by segment. And it's going to produce just below it a chart or plot. Since it's Plotly we're dealing with, it's going to produce a plot, which is that library we showed you at the very beginning. It's thinking about it. Okay, we're going to move on. That's taking a while. It's on my local machine. I'm also recording a video on this. So what's happening is a lot of the resources are probably being pulled. And so it's not producing the visual like I would like for it to. But we saw earlier that the visual was produced. Oh, there we go. Awesome. It finally came up. So you're able to hover over these because this is an interactive portion or interactive Plotly chart, a different type from the one we saw earlier or previously. So you see if we hover over each of these, it'll give us the sales over to the right here. You can see that one is in blue. Scrolling further down, again, it's just doing the same thing over and over again, basically. We just, however, sales by the category in this particular one. The previous one was sales by segment. So it's just what I did was I took that data that we had earlier in that Excel spreadsheet and I just broke it down and focused on the state of California and sales by segment, sales by category, and I believe I have another one just below it, which is sales by state per year. And this is what that chart looks like, which is kind of busy because you can't really tell, but we know this is, we're looking at all 50 states and we're looking at 2 months out of each year for 2018, 19, and 2020, and only one for 2017. And we're using the order by date within the code here. So what I did was we grouped by the region, state, and year, and we had the year to equal the order date. And you can see here just the number of sales and different types of analysis. We want to see the total sales in state, the average sale, minimum, maximum sales, total profit in state, and stuff like that. All in all, just different plots within the knitter. And I know you keep hearing me say knitter. I'm going to explain that very shortly here. And this is one last chart to show the various products sold via by the company. Now, knitter is something that's pretty cool and that allows you to take all this information and knit this into a diagram, right? So if I was to run this here, which is the knitter, I can knit to HTML, PDF, or Word. Or in other words, I can deploy the contents of this particular data analysis into one of these various formats. And then this can be distributed to leadership. It can be housed in wherever you choose to house this information or distribute it to whomever you wish to receive this. We're going to go ahead and knit this into an HTML document so that it can be deployed to a web page, and I'll show you what that looked like here shortly. But let's see if my system can handle this. So you can see at the bottom is rendering. You can see it's thinking here, rendering. And what it's doing is tying all this information together, right? It's taking all these charts, it's taking the code, and it's literally knitting it together into one cohesive document or HTML web page for distribution, deployment and distribution. So it makes it easier so you're able to house it somewhere and someone can easily go to it and view this information. And you can see the process here is actually knitting this. You can see it's loading the various packages like Plotly so that it can knit it together into one document. Think of it as, if you will, as printing something from a website, right? It's going to print what pages you need. So what it's literally doing is printing this to an HTML format, right? And what I'm looking for here at the very end, we have 100%, and this is what I'm looking for. See what it looks like. And this is the chart, right? This is the report, is what I want to say. Not chart, but report. All right, interactive charts with Plotly, right? So all of that data that we saw earlier here, all of these various plots, you can see now that we have those plots within this report, and you're able to hover over this as we did earlier, or maybe not. Oh, here we go. You can see we're able to hover over each of these like we were able to do in R, but now is in a format, right? That's in a report format. So I'm going to show you this now. So if I was to take this portion of the HTML and take all of that out, type in my website, right? We're going to go over to my website because what I want to show you is that you have the ability to actually, because it's in HTML, right? You can see lindsayaustin.com still. I just added that. This is the URL for the actual chart where it's located. I just tagged that onto the end of lindsayaustin.com so I can get to it. And it should populate on the screen. And if not, it's probably because I'm still working on it at the time, but I just wanted to show you that it did have the ability of doing that. See, lindsayaustin.com, interactive with Plotly. You can see that right here. And it's part of my website because why? It's in the HTML format. And again, it's just the information we talked about earlier within R, which is the IDE, allows you to run the code as well as produce the visualizations that we saw earlier. Yeah, so just let me know what you think, and that's all I have. Thanks a lot.